Let me ask you a question. What would be possible for you if you could stop doing all of those manual tasks and your business ran on autopilot? In this interview series, I talk to some pretty amazing women about how they run and automate their businesses. So if putting your business on autopilot is of interest to you, then stick around and let's get into it. Welcome, my name is Jacqui Money. I live in an off-grid tiny house in South Africa. I'm building a food forest. I've got 5 beautiful dogs, 2 of them giant breed. And yes, I know, giant breed dogs in a tiny house, it's hysterical. I have a husband named Warren, who's even more introverted than I am. And I love helping women run and scale big businesses with tiny teams and custom back-end systems. That's what I absolutely love doing. I believe everything can be simpler, easier, and tinier so that we can all live bigger, better lives. And today I have my good friend Dara Sklar joining me. Dara is a lifelong entrepreneur. No, really, from selling kisses to her parents at 6 years old to becoming self-employed at 26. Dara has been through a lot. You may know her as the Google guru with nearly 4,000 students in her wildly popular Get Productive with G Suite course. She loves to help small businesses get and stay organized so that they can run more efficiently using Google's suite of tools they already know, love, and are probably already paying for. When she's not at her computer, you can find her on the squash court, mountain bike trails, or ski hills, or sipping a good glass of wine or craft beer. Welcome, Dara.
Thank you so much for having me. And as I'm listening to you introduce yourself and then introduce me, I'm thinking we're like a match made in heaven. Like Absolutely. There's no wonder we made friends so quickly and instantly.
I know, absolutely. I mean, productivity and systems and automation is kind of what we do, isn't it?
Exactly. And you've just opened my mind and my eyes to so many possibilities that I never saw from like inside my own business. It's easy to see in other people's businesses. And I think that's where both of us probably are like great friends to other people, because it's so easy to see how other people can do things better.
Absolutely.
Or so much easier anyway, much easier than seeing for your own.
Yeah. And I mean, you've opened my mind with the Google suite of tools. I mean, when I went through your course, it was like, oh my God, this, I think I messaged you and I said, like, this course blew my mind. It was like the best thing I'd ever like done.
Well, and I feel the same way every time you teach me something about Airtable. So it's like, you know, we're just elevating each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good starting point for my first question. Tell us a little bit about your business.
So, I mean, I have, as you mentioned in my intro, like since I was, well, it's almost been 2 decades of running my own business. And one of the first things that happened was that I had virtual assistants and they were overseas. And well, that's not even true. The first thing I had was in-person assistants. And I found that everybody always needed me for everything. And I was like, how can I not be the go-to person in this? And so slowly started chipping away at, and you know, before it was popular, before it was cool to have assistants or virtual assistants with documentation and everything, that was where, you know, that's how long ago I started. And so I kind of had to figure it out for myself. And eventually when I went to having virtual assistants who were overseas, I had figured out stuff within the back end of my business. And in that business, which doesn't exist anymore, just for the record, but like we were, you know, sharing documents with ourselves and hundreds, if not, well, dozens, if not hundreds of clients. We were building websites, we were running projects, and we were doing all kinds of things for real estate agents. So that's kind of how I got my start. And people always ask me, hey, you teach everybody where did you learn all of this stuff about Google Suite? And the answer is in the trenches in my business and communicating with my staff and running projects on website builds and, you know, all kinds of things relating to being assistants to real estate agents, again, which I don't do anymore, which is delightful. So happy to have transitioned. And now I teach people how to use that Google suite of tools. And I'm sure, as you know, in the same way that you're an automation and airtable specialist, when you slap a label of a specialty on yourself, people remember who you are and what you do. And so even though I love to teach people how to be more productive and how to, how to be faster or better, it wasn't until I like honed in on saying, I'm going to show you how to use the tools you're already using, the Gmail and Google Drive and all of the tools you probably don't even realize that are available to you. And that's how you're going to end up being more productive in your business.
More productive. Yes, yes. And I mean, I absolutely love your emails. Guys, if you're not on Dara's email list, get on her email list. Her emails are little nuggets of gold. Seriously, I love you.
I appreciate that so much, because I have to confess that I write them in the moment. And I have a plan to like go back and find all those nuggets and pull them forward and make some kind of automation. But in the meantime, they actually just come from my everyday experiences. Like when I went to go show up for that meeting a few weeks ago and sat down at my desk at 9:59 a.m. and realized it was an in-person meeting. And I was like here holding a plate of food about to like eat in front of Zoom and be off camera. And I had to like run, I mean, thankfully I live in a small town, but that kind of thing that lends itself to a gold nugget to share. So I appreciate that, because the emails are like genuine parts of me.
But you can actually tell that they are like genuine, and the stories are like, they're sometimes hilarious. I'm sorry, but they really are.
Good. I'm glad that we can have a good chuckle at my expense.
So you've alluded a little bit about like what you do day to day in your business, but tell us a little bit more about what your business looks like today.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because I kind of blink and 2.5 years have gone by since I launched my Get Productive with G Suite course. I can't believe that it's been 2.5 years.
I can't believe it.
I know. And like, I think just like anybody, like any normal human person who's in business, we have this like to-do list of like a wish list and a to-do list. And some of those things you get to, and some of them you just don't even get to. But because I haven't gotten to some of those things on my list, and I'll tell you what they are, I'll confess. But some of the things on my to-do list make me feel like I haven't progressed. But the reality is that I launched with one course, and then I had a second course that was kind of part of that bundle, and then a third course, and then I did a workshop, and I've just ended up having this kind of product suite of courses and workshops because of realizing what the needs of my customer are. And so looking at the infrastructure of my business is I have a lot of digital products. I show up in bundles, I show up organically, I show up on Facebook ads, and people come in and they get, referrals just like you saying this was the best course I've taken or best money I've spent, and they buy my course and then they get to know me. And this is where my confession is going to come in, because I don't actually have like a welcome sequence of emails. So the ones that you come and pick up. Yeah. So this has been on my to-do list for 2 years now, hopefully within the next month. I don't know. But I end up with kind of people who appreciate the value that I'm imparting to them. And I get a lot of positive feedback about how I think my goal, and so I get positive feedback on this, but I'm happy that I set as my goal that every moment that you spend learning something from me is time that you're going to save and save and save in the future. And I think it's a like, you have to have this breakthrough where you realize, and this is the breakthrough that I had in the early days of my business, which is if I take 5 or 15 minutes now to document this, I never have to do it again. Somebody else can do it. And it's so easy to get caught up in the, if I want it done right, I'll do it myself, or it's faster for me to do it than to document it. And that's not true, because you end up saving time exponentially. So what I say in my course on the sales page, it says something along the lines of, you're going to learn to save time. So invest now in learning to save time, and it's just going to keep paying you back all like for the rest of your life.
100%.
And yeah, so I get a lot of positive feedback on that. And so I have this suite of digital products. I'm still chipping away at my to-do list, including that welcome sequence and other, related email nurture automations, etc. Yeah. But I like that when I do show up to my audience, that I'm very genuine and they see exactly like in real time what's happening.
Yeah, and I for one appreciate that. I don't feel like, where everything is sugar coated and everything's wonderful and nobody makes mistakes, because we all make mistakes. And I think that's what a lot of people on your list or that know you resonate with you, because you are genuine and you're not afraid to call out mistakes that you've made, and say that you're not perfect.
Well, maybe you're inspiring a new series of emails, which is like the mistakes that I've made. Oh, the mistakes that I've made.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
that would be
because
beautiful.
it's the kinds of things that people like to see and
Mhm.
like to hear, and especially when you've come out the other end of them. And I'm
Exactly.
always up for a good laugh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So my clients have me automate all sorts of things, from email follow-up, like we were saying you don't have, to automated interview systems and Airtable. So I'm always curious, what was the first thing you remember automating in your business?
oh, well, it would definitely be the Gmail labels and filters. So everybody's battle is always to get to inbox 0 or to not miss emails. And using filters in Gmail, which is Gmail's version of automations, means that anytime you can search for a certain set of criteria, you can trigger an action, which is what an automation is. And I don't remember what the first one was that I set up, but for sure, using those filters in Gmail. So, and I'll just give you a handful of things that I use it for now, because I think almost everybody out there uses Gmail in some capacity. So this would work on Gmail or Google Workspace, but hopefully this will be valuable for your audience. But I do things like when the Uber receipt, like let's say I go travel and I go take an Uber, and for some reason, and I've just never fixed it, the Uber is attached to my personal email address. So the receipt comes to my personal email, but it's a business expense. So I have it automated so that on my personal Gmail, it forwards it to my accounting inbox. And in my accounting inbox, it takes it and puts it directly in the to be entered in QuickBooks label. So I never even see the receipt. It kind of comes in one, and then that saves me a step. And the same thing with my husband, if he orders something on Amazon, anything that comes through as an Amazon email of any kind, we both get it. So it automatically forwards to him. And actually I had this brilliant, I'm only talking about forwarding right now, but I've got some other examples, but I just had this other like brilliant use of this kind of automated forwarding. Was my assistant was trying to send out some reminders through Zoom, and she's overseas, and she went to go sign in, and it asked her for a code, and it was like 5 o'clock in the morning and I was asleep, and she had to wait till I woke up, and then I forwarded it to her, and then the code expired and I had to forward it to her again. And I was like, oh, well, obviously I'm going to set up a filter. And so any email that comes from Zoom and has such and such in the subject forwards directly to her. So if she ever needs to log in, and obviously if we didn't work together, then I could disable that. But for two-factor authentication that comes through by email, like how perfect. Or if you've got, again, like my husband and this Amazon situation, well, he's signing in and it's prompting him, like we could, every time that you think of something like that, and I've been forcing myself even more than I ever have before to take that time, to the point where I started making a list of all the ways that I save a little bit of time. Every time I do something that's going to save me time in the future, I write it down, because that to me is like, it motivates me to do more of that.
More of it, yes.
Exactly.
Yes, I mean, that Zoom thing, I've actually had that Zoom thing happen with 2 of my clients, and it's not even something I thought about. So I'm going to be telling them to forward me those.
To set up that filter. Yeah. I'm going to, this is going to be a topic of my next email.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Brilliant. I love it.
And so I only talked about filters and how you can automate forwarding emails, but obviously you can do all kinds of things. You can, I've set up people's inboxes where we look at all of the different email addresses that might come in from a particular client, and we label those emails as the client name and make sure that it never goes to spam, because she was having problems with a couple of her client emails landing in spam, and she had like, kind of her spam folder was, or spam folder was a bit of a mess. And she was like, I only check it once every day or two, and then we get these urgent requests and it goes to spam. So we set up filters, never send to spam, label with the client name. I mean, there's just all kinds of things. When I get Stripe notifications or PayPal notifications, they go directly to my to enter in QuickBooks label, or, Thrive card notifications, skip the inbox because I don't need those cluttering up. So there's all kinds of like automations that are running in Gmail, and I just add to them over time. It's not like I came up with all of them in one sitting. I just chipped away. Oh, this email annoys me. I'm going to do something about it. And then I set up an automation.
Absolutely. And I mean, I've set up a couple of filters myself, and it's more for emails, like promotional emails, but ones I want to keep actually and don't want to lose, but I don't want them cluttering up my inbox because
Exactly.
I'm an inbox zero fanatic. I hate having email in my inbox. So I actually get anxious when I have email in my inbox. So I actually filter those out as well. So I love that that was the first thing that you spoke about, because it's one of my favorite email hacks or automations. So I love that. And so you spoke a little bit about like how much time it saves you. Have you actually documented the actual amount of time?
No, although I also use a tool called Text Expander. Have you ever used it or heard of it?
I've heard of it. I haven't used it.
Oh my, I think you would love it. So it's a paid tool. It costs like maybe $50 a year, 50 US dollars a year or something. Actually, I think I have an affiliate link that gets you 20% off. So if you were interested, please don't hesitate to ask me for it. But Text Expander is a program that runs on my computer. And I think it also runs on iOS, but I'm an Android user. But it runs on my computer, and basically you create your own keyboard shortcuts. So you get to say, when I type this, do this. So if I type in, I use the plus button as like, because I combine a plus with something else, which I wouldn't recommend, but I'm just going to explain what I'm doing. If I do plus CD, it says cheers, comma, hard line break, Dara, smiley face. If I type in plus date, it puts year, month, day as the date. If I type in plus RT list, it comes up with the blurb, the 3-paragraph blurb that is the disclaimer for my husband's invoices. If I type in plus teal, it pulls up the 6-digit hex code from my teal, my brand color. Not that it's this color of the cup, but, or plus red brings up my red. Or so even like HTML snippets, I'm using it for even like all kinds of things. And, you know, I don't remember my tax number off by heart. I type in plus GST and it pops up. I type in plus TMAC and it types out Total Marketing and Consulting Inc. period, which is my corporation name. So again, adding to it over time, and Text Expander does send me emails weekly or monthly saying like, here's how much time you've saved. So they're logging it, but it becomes so second nature to do that. And I'm able to store just stuff that I use over and over again, where I don't have to go find it, copy it, paste it. It's like right at my fingertips. So
I love it.
I would consider that to be another automation. And I the first time I had heard of it, and the first time I decided to sign up for it was I was watching someone who was teaching a course, and she had all of the things that she was going to type up in her demonstration saved as Text Expander snippets. So rather than watching her type, she just did her like command, you know, command course 1, command course 2, and it just like populated all the things on screen. And it was so beautiful to watch that I was like, I need that. And then I've customized it for myself.
Yes. And I remember, I think, do you mention Text Expander in your G Suite course?
I do. Yeah. I have a little mini intro to Text Expander lesson, because it is just, I mean, like, and I probably don't even scratch the surface of what it can do, because you can get it to tab and line break, and you can put in formatting. So you know what, in Gmail, speaking back to Gmail a little bit, you can use Gmail templates. So you can turn on a feature in Gmail where you can save text that you use over and over again inside of Gmail. But there's a limit to, like, it's a kind of limited feature, meaning you can't put them in a particular order and you can't easily edit them. And if you have more than 12, you have to scroll up and down this long list. So you can't have dozens of snippets, but you could store all of those in Text Expander, including formatting, links. URLs is another big one. So like how do I really want to type http:// with dara.com and then whatever? So I go plus WD and my URL pops up, and then I'm able to put in whatever short code I've got. So just like, it's the mentality of always looking for ways to make tomorrow easier. And that's, I think, what I like, if I could like name the one thing that I help people with, it's like suddenly seeing the world and their business and their productivity through the lens of like, what can I do now that makes tomorrow easier. And automations is always the answer, but it's like, you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know stuff about Airtable until you came along. And so all of this stuff that we're sharing with people is all just making everybody's lives easier. And like the light bulbs going off is like makes me so happy.
Yes, me as well. Every time somebody says like, you've helped me save time, or I didn't even know this was possible, that makes me ecstatically happy.
Same. Yeah.
So then a lot of my clients have me create Airtable and ClickUp systems and automations, and they have me automate email and their scheduling and social media and all of that kind of thing. So, and a lot of people, what I've come across is that they, like we were just saying, they don't actually realize everything that can be automated. So this is like why I'm asking this next question. I'm curious, what are your top favorite automations besides the ones that you've just mentioned? Your top 3.
Oh, top 3, but I just gave you my best ones. No, well, I would say I could see Airtable automatic emails being probably the top one, especially because it goes directly through your Gmail account, so it doesn't come through an email autoresponder. And I can see so many use cases for it that aren't just business related, but like I volunteer at a not-for-profit locally, and every year we have dozens of sponsors, and someone goes and manually writes dozens of emails. And what I would love to do for them, and I wish it wasn't always me inventing ways for me to spend more time doing volunteer work, but it keeps happening. But I would love to take the database, it's a spreadsheet, and I'm the treasurer, so I see all of the like payments coming through, or I'm sending out invoices, but I would love to take that spreadsheet of all of the sponsors, load it into Airtable as a database, write like a genuine email that pulls in someone's first name, asks the question, and then you click, okay, go, and then it just sends out those messages.
Yes.
And it would just say, and again, this kind of comes back to what I was saying, like sometimes you have to take the time to set up the system to save the time in perpetuity. But if I set that system up this year, that system is going to exist on an ongoing basis. And then that's going to pay back all these volunteers, like it's all volunteer based. Every single one of us is a volunteer for this organization. So we go and we spend 1, 3, 5 hours, depending on how much time it takes to figure things out and set things up and customize it and make sure it works. But then it's like, it would have taken that amount of time probably to send all of those emails. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then the time savings going forward.
Exactly.
But they could still volunteer, but they could be doing other things.
Yes. Yeah. Another one of my favorites, I'm just going to talk about Airtable because I love that you taught me this, which was when I moved all of my promotional and business headquarters into an Airtable base that I got from you and with your guidance. And one of the other ones is I'm often struck, I told you that I kind of write my emails kind of in the moment. And so I'll have like shower thoughts, or like I'll have a sudden epiphany and I'll come running to my computer. And I love that you can actually get Airtable to automate the creation of documents. Yes, so if you want to, so if I want to, here's an email, and I could fill in a form, and then there's the document available to me to like brain dump the ideas into. I love that feature, that automation, like the connection between Airtable and Google Docs.
Google Docs. Yes. I love that. I use that one for my blog posts.
Yes. I love that you do that. Yeah. It's such a smart way to bring everything back to a central location. Like here's that kind of database, and it connects to all these different applications and places, but it's the central hub that I think I had been missing in my business for all of time until I came to you. And I think as a business that started off with one course and then it grew and grew and grew, like I wouldn't have been able to create it on day one. I had to wait until I had a mess in order to rein it in to something more organized, because that's when I valued and appreciated doing the time that I took to do that.
And I find that a lot with the clients I work with. It's almost like you have to feel the pain of having a mess before you decide to do something about it.
Yeah. And I think I think that's a really great lesson for all of us who sell services that on the surface seem nice to have, but the reality is that the moment that you have the pain, you're willing to pay to fix it. And that's where we come in. And so, I'll have somebody who creates multiple Google accounts and then doesn't know where all their files are. And it's because it's scattered. And they also didn't know that they could put all of their Google Workspace, all of their domains in one workspace. So they accidentally have 4 workspaces and they're paying extra money and then their files are scattered. And like, that's the moment that they're like, oh, now I'm going to hire you to bring everything in.
To bring everything together.
Exactly.
But I mean, if everybody was organized, then there wouldn't be need for you and I in the world.
No, and I think I think that people are organized in different ways. And I have often thought to myself that my ideal client is someone whose life and home is organized. They themselves think in an organized way, but they don't know how to apply that to their digital life. And so then they see something like an Airtable base or database or setup or automation system for whatever segment of their business or their entire business, depending. And they're like, oh, that's how that will fit with the way that my brain works. But it's not like they are a complete mess everywhere and they're trying to figure out, you know what I mean? Like, I think that somebody who wants their files organized is a person who has a relatively organized life and wants to bring that over to their computer.
Yes, I agree. I think my client is the same, and they might even just be unorganized in one specific area of their business, but it's affecting the whole rest of their business.
Yeah, like somebody who has a podcast or a YouTube channel, and then they just they know what their steps and systems are, but they need a way to streamline it. And so, these are all of the automation buzzwords.
Yes, all of that. So one more. You named 2. One more.
Oh, I was hoping that you wouldn't notice. Well, I'm going to actually name a different tool then, and that is Help Scout.
Yes.
So this is, flashing back to my previous business that I've recently abandoned in a good way. And we started using Help Scout because my assistant and I were struggling to keep all of the different orders that were coming in straight. So we were sending out email blasts for realtors. And so we just set up a whole set of what they call in Help Scout, which is a help desk software. They call them workflows. And so it's just an automation. There's a trigger and then there's an outcome. And so it would be something like, I would mark something as paid and it would forward that email over to Gmail so that I could create the invoice inside of QuickBooks. I would mark something as sent and the client would be sent an email, hey, so-and-so, your email blast has been sent. And it would, when I would mark it as paid, it would forward the email and it would assign it to my assistant who would then work on it. I'm trying to think of what other workflows were in there because it was always tag based. So I would tag it and then something would happen. But it made it possible to, I know, it would be somebody would prepay for 3 and it would send a message to my assistant, hey, make sure you log these 3 prepaid things for this client. It helped us stop doing stop having custom thoughts for every single order because it was always repetitive. So it's like, if this is going to happen again tomorrow, what can I do so that I don't have to manually do anything? And it took us a while, we were using it differently at first, and then I had a little epiphany and we switched the way that we were doing things. But it's always it just all comes down to the same thing, but I'll use the Help Scout example since you're forcing me to come up with a third one. That would be, and I used Help Scout for years. I still do use it.
That's amazing.
And and there are little automations that run now where it's like, if someone asks a question inside of my course and it comes through as an Airtable form, then it pops in and it tells me, there's a little label that gets applied and it sits in a particular part of the inbox. And, it just helps me not miss out on those sorts of things. And I love the saved replies, which is kind of reply templates. So if somebody asks for a Google Workspace promo code, I populate all of it, including screenshots, and then just paste in their unique code. So it's just everything saves me time. I can do it from my phone. That's the other thing. Oh, you know what? I have one more. I just thought of another one. I mean, this is one I use for Zapier. So I told you I do a lot of volunteer work. I run my squash club. And what happens when someone signs up as a new member to the squash club, so that we have like memberships where they like don't have to pay to book courts, and then there's a free membership where they pay per court booking. And either way, we send a welcome email. And so what I did was in Zapier, I said, Zapier, if I get an email in my personal Gmail account that says new member registered, compose this message and put it in my drafts. Oh, the reason I did that was because if I sit at my desk, it's no problem. I can go and pull up a template and send it. But I'm not usually at my desk all the time. And I would like to send that welcome email promptly. So if I see the new member registered email, I then copy their email address, pop into my drafts, paste their email address, and hit send. And it's like seconds of time, and I can do it from mobile. So there we go. I thought of two more.
Brilliant. Yes. I love it. I love it. So we're giving people a lot of ideas on what can be possible with automation. So I kind of want to wrap up this interview on a high note. So tell the audience, what is your bigger vision for your company so that we can all cheer you on?
Oh, thank you for that opportunity. I don't know. Let me think about that for a second. I mean, the bigger vision is exactly what you just said, is we're talking about all the things you can do. So I think the bigger vision is that more people, that's very vague, I know, more people know what's possible so that they go and they do or try to do those things. Because one of the biggest things that I teach, and I have people of all ages coming to take courses from me, and the biggest thing that I emphasize is I'm not worried about you remembering how to do such and such, but I want you to know that it's possible. Because the moment that you know that you can do it, you can go Google that, or you can ask someone. But if you didn't even know that you could do it, then, and so that is where, and that's why I love these kinds of conversations, and I love learning about automations, because the reality is that I do the things that I do, but I'm not always looking for new ways to do them. And as soon as you open people's eyes to what you can do, the things that nobody would have thought of, or the ways that my brain works that yours doesn't, and vice versa, or that any one of the people who are listening to this interview are like, oh, what a brilliant use of whatever. And then they go off and they apply their own use case to it. Yes. I think that if I had a bigger vision, it would be empowering people to take time now to save time later in a bigger scale, like have that be a movement. Because we can all, and I'm not talking about like taking away personalization or personal interaction. Not everything automated is bad. You know, everybody's talking about like AI and how, ooh, it's scary, but we're talking about like just saving ourselves time so we can have the more genuine interactions.
Yes, that's what I'm all about. Saving the time so we, like I said in the beginning, so we can all live big lives instead of being chained to our desks 24/7.
Yes, exactly. So what can we do? What are the, what do you not know that you don't know, but now you do? So sharing ideas and ways that people's lives can be better within technology, within the technology that I'm familiar with, and just empowering people to, because it's so easy to be like, I don't have time for this. And I get caught in that myself. But the reality is that if you make some time, you often will save yourself time in the future. So
that's worth it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Does that end on the high note that you were looking for?
It ends on the high note. So with that, thank you so much for being here, Dara. I really appreciate your time. I'm going to link all of your links below this video, and we're going to be distributing far and wide. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. I thank you for the opportunity and your friendship.
Let me know in the comments below if you had a magic wand and could automate the part of your business where you are spending the most time, what would that be? If you want to check out more videos like this, where I talk about how to put your business on autopilot so that you're not working more hours or hiring a huge team, be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next video.